Sometimes it's difficult to decide where to start when you're thinking about cleaning up the yard and getting ready for the spring, especially in the winter months. But I found that if you take it section by section, it can become a lot more manageable, and that's what we're trying to do this year. As I was looking at my yard and the months of neglect that I've given this area, I've been a little bit overwhelmed, and I'm going, where am I going to start? How am I going to start? What do I tackle first? And as we move through this part of the yard, we've already been working on the raised beds, and we have a really cool project that we'll talk to you about later. But in the meantime, last week we trimmed back and reset some of our boxwoods back here. And this week what we're going to attempt to do is just basically do this section right here in the yard, starting with our boxwood that's in this container and the super bells underneath, and then the super bells that are along the walls in those containers that have been in there for 2 years. So I think this is going to be a really manageable project. And so what we're going to do is we're going to start with that pot right there, and then we're going to clear out these, and we're going to show you what it looks like when we're done. Eventually, we'll get back to the bed in the back, but for now, this section will be just manageable enough to where we can have some success and we can feel accomplished. So anyways, hope you enjoy the process. Let's get to start. I'll show you what I'm going to do. One of the first things that is super important before you start any project is to make sure that you protect your hands, especially if you're going to use a hedge trimmer like I'm going to use here. I have this really nice small size electric hedge trimmer by Craftsman, and it's an 8-inch blade on the end, and it's just perfect for topiaries. And so that's what I'm going to use here. I'm going to also probably use that on the super bells on the bottom and just give them a trim all the way across. So once I get this done, then I'm going to go ahead and take out those super bells. Should be relatively easy, and then it's going to look like a whole different area, hopefully, at least cleaner anyways. All right, here we go. Okay, so it's a different day, and I couldn't be more excited to share with you how everything turned out. I'm really happy about it. Okay, so let's start by talking about these boxwoods and how nicely they turned out. These are about 4 years old. When I say these, I mean this one and another one that I replanted last summer in these containers that I had purchased from Lowe's. I spray painted the pots and planted some annuals in them. Have turned out really well, and I really do enjoy molding them into the spherical shape. I know there are some people that have commented that that's really not their thing, and I do understand everybody has their own taste in their garden, but in our garden space, I think since everything is pretty much free growing, it's really nice to have that structure, and it gives you visual interest in your garden. So they turned out really well, and those hedge trimmers worked beautifully. I didn't use the hedge trimmers after all, probably as you noticed, for the super bells that are in the bottom, or my annuals, because I thought it was a little bit overkill and I didn't want to totally butcher them with those. So it gave me a little bit more control by using my hand clippers instead. And I think they're going to be fine. And even if they don't come back nicely, then I can swap them out with something else. But in the meantime, they turned out great, and I couldn't be more pleased. So I started here, and I moved on to the wall, and that was like literally 5 minutes of work. So after I finished with these, you noticed in the video that I went along and took out all of my super bells that were along the wall that had been in there for a long time. And it's kind of freeing to do this because they do last a long time here, more than one season usually. And since they all fizzled out at the same time, it really did give me an open canvas to think about what I was going to do in the spring. So that literally took me 5 minutes to pop them out, take all the containers out as well, so I can get those cleaned up for the next season and get them sanitized to plant something new this spring. So I've gone ahead and left the L brackets in the wall after I took the pots out so that you could easily see what these are and how they work in our garden. We have a little eye hook here. This is the water or the drip irrigation line that I have here that will run to each pot. But we have a little eye hook that is bolted into the block wall or the cinder block, and these were here before we moved in, and I always had wondered, you know, why would they had done that? I don't know what they were originally used for, but they were always kind of unsightly, so I thought to myself, well, it'd be really cool if I could use those to plant some plants along the wall to give some vertical interest, and they work beautifully. I don't even need to bolt these into the wall at all. They just set into the eye hook just like that, and then the plant grows and you don't even know that they're there, and it's beautiful every single time. So that was a real easy fix. So this is something that could easily be done on one of my other walls. I could purchase these at a local hardware store, the little eye hook that goes into the wall, and then add more if I wanted to. But I think for now, I think I'm just going to keep with these every single year. You definitely need to have some kind of drip irrigation, because if you're like us, in the summertime we get pretty hot, and if they're not constantly moist or have the moisture that they need to survive, as soon as they dry out, it's really hard for a plant to recover from that. And so this is really the key to having success with those super bells along the wall each year. And I think everybody has really enjoyed seeing how they grow and how they do, for sure. So at the top of the video, I hinted at a project that we have going on in these raised beds. I'm sure you could tell that those were already planted up, and we're really excited about it. We felt like this year, before we plant our vegetable garden, it might be really cool to plant some color in here to give us some show of color in the early spring, and that's exactly what we did. In the front, we have some snapdragons that I had left over in their 6-pack containers from the fall that I never got around to plant. So we thought it'd be kind of cool to plant them there, and Ben planted these a couple of weeks ago, trimmed off the top to give them a little bit more steady stalk, and they've been kind of sprouting out from the bottom. So I think those are going to be really successful in a couple of weeks here when they are in full bloom. And then in the back, we planted some tulips. This year we decided to go with the hot variety from Color Blends, and we ordered 400 for back here in the upper raised beds, and we planted 600 in our front planter, and I'm sure they're going to be glorious in a number of weeks. But we thought it'd be really kind of cool to plant them in the backyard so we could see them from inside the house, outside our window, because normally, you know, we enjoy the ones in the front, and the neighbors do as well, but we can't see them from where we are. So these are going to be great because now we can enjoy some color in the backyard, and it's going to be a little bit different. In a couple of weeks, I'll give you an update on how all of these are doing, along with a video that will include the ones that we have growing in the front yard. Thank you so much for being here today as we take this yard section by section and prepare for the spring in an effort to stay focused and not be overwhelmed by the whole picture all at once. It really does help, for sure. Until next time, everybody, thank you for watching. And if you want to watch a video on how we put these together, go ahead and click on this video right here for more information. Bye-bye.